who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, here with Tom Campbell, our visionary creative director.
Oh, thank you. Hello, Fenton.
I just added an adjective. Hello. And, of course, literary sensation, club kid extraordinaire, the great artist known as James St. James.
Well, hello. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Thank you. And Blake Jacobs, of course.
Hi.
Hi. So, what we're going to do, because every week we do the same thing. Well, it's always different, but we count down the top 10 things that make us go, wow.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And sometimes we do a little theme.
So we mix it up a little bit. We bring a little something else to the table.
We go with one central idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's the key to success?
Failure.
And today we celebrate failure.
Yes.
Something I know a lot about. Yeah, something I think we all do.
Me too.
Absolutely.
So
here our failures.
Here is the countdown of the top 10 things that failed that made us go, wow. Or made us go, fail.
These are products. These are they movies?
Product fails.
Product fails
Yep.
is what we are.
Fails.
Okay.
No movie fails.
No movie fails. We have done that. We did that once before. If you remember the biggest flops of all time.
Biggest turkeys.
It was biggest turkeys for Thanksgiving. It was one of our greatest shows ever. So I think this might be up there with our greatest show.
If you're listening, you might want to think about what you're doing right now because your whole life's about to change after we do this countdown this week.
So without further ado,
Number 10.
Tom.
Number 10.
The Edsel. The Ford Edsel. I think you can't talk about failed products without talking about the Edsel. It's almost the granddaddy of failure.
It could have been number one.
It could have been.
Yeah.
I like, 10 is a very important role here, too.
The first time I heard of the Edsel was, didn't Lucy get an Edsel? Wasn't that an episode of I Love Lucy?
They got a Pontiac.
Okay.
But the Edsel, yeah.
Yeah, can you describe, what does it look like? Because I'm having a hard time.
Well, first of all, it was considered the Titanic of cars. That it's a marketing fail, it was a design fail, it was a price fail, it was a fail on all these things. Now, Edsel is the only son of Henry Ford, was Edsel. It was his son. He ran Ford until 1943. He died young.
Because it's one of those things where people said that it was because it had a weird name, a funny name that people didn't latch onto it. And I didn't realize, I always felt like, what the fuck is an Edsel?
Well, it was named
Sounds
after...
like a lawnmower.
Yeah.
It was named after the son.
His name was Edsel Ford?
Edsel Ford. And his son, Henry Ford II, was in charge of Ford at the time, and he was like, I don't want it to be called Edsel. I don't want my father's name rolling around in a bunch of hubcaps. Anyway, and Ford had just recently in the mid-50s gone from being privately owned to being like stocks and boards of directors and things. And it was they went to all this marketing genius of the 50s, and they went in and they got all this information, and I guess they ignored a lot of it because they made this dump of a car. The Edsel was supposed to be, now remember, there was Ford, there was Mercury. Above Mercury was Lincoln Continental, and Edsel was supposed to be between Ford and Mercury. And it's known for its grill because it had, most grills are horizontal, and it had this big nose in the middle, this big round. They called it a horse's collar, which they said looked like at the time, and I didn't. It looked like an Oldsmobile. It sucked a lemon. I guess they took it sort of. It is sort of got squished in. It was advertised for a year in a hype campaign, and it was supposed to be the future, the car of the future. And when it finally was, revealed, it was this boxy round, still in the 50s, it's still late 58 to 60 is when it was on. But as you know, all those space age kind of cars were on the horizon.
Also, the sporty little Italian speedsters were all the rage at the time.
And so there was this big gas guzzling. And then I guess in its second year, with all of that in the first year, it sold like the best of any new car had in years because it had all this hype behind it. But the second year plummeted. Third year, they stopped making it. And supposedly the second year model also, there was all kinds of technical problems. And it introduced a lot of technology. It had seat belts, which were an extra. You could have seat belts. It had a push button transmission that was actually located in the center of the ceiling column.
And that's just now popular again.
Exactly. But it was not embraced.
Was it the wrong car at the wrong time? Or
That's what they say.
If it had been in the 40s, would people have loved it?
Well, also there was a recession in 57, 58. So here they were introducing basically a really expensive Ford.
Yeah, and the price point was way higher than it was supposed to. Yeah,
but it was just a car. It wasn't. I mean,
it
you
didn't
say
fly.
It
It didn't go underwater.
Technology, but nothing sort of inherently motor car evolving.
Not enough, and especially for the hype. I had a boss in television who said the worst thing for a bad show is an excellent promo campaign. Because if you promise, breakthrough, and then the actual product arrives, and it's like, mwah, mwah.
I think we've all learned that at some point in our lives.
What are you asserting or hinting at, James? Saying
We're all, I think, self-admitted hype monsters here at this table. We've had a few Edsels in our
had an
time.
amazing launch campaign.
But the good news is if you bought an Edsel and you still have it, it's worth a lot.
Sure. Well, another one was DeLorean, which that was a huge flop at the time. But if you have a DeLorean now, you are the coolest person on the block.
Make DeLoreans, I think. Do they?
Yeah, you might be
maybe
hallucinating.
The other thing, this huge. Let me see if any of these other names, because when they were coming up with the Edsel, they were trying to think of other names. And
but I think Edsel is a good name for a kid.
Can I just say the name Edsel is a German baby name meaning noble or bright? What's wrong with being called Edsel?
Because it sounds like Edsel.
I think Edsel Bailey would be a nice name for
Edsel Bailey would be like,
But would you want to jump into your Edsel and drive down the street? Here's some other names that they came up with they rejected.
Jump into by James St. James.
That I'm sure there was thousands of dollars and millions. Citation.
I like that.
I like that.
Wasn't there a Citation?
In the 80s, there was a Chevy Citation. And then
I think Citation Bailey is a good name, too.
Corsair.
Well, there is a Corsair, right? That really
These
happened.
ended up Pacer. This is 1958.
Well, Pacers, of course.
Who made the Pacer?
Of AMC.
I love that car. It was so
We
70s.
should have been talking about the Pacers. And the other one was a Ranger, which now we have.
Of course, yeah.
Ford Ranger.
Yes.
These are all things.
But what they ended up doing with the Edsel is they made them categories. So it was the Edsel Citation, the Edsel Corsair, depending on the design. And they made lots of they made convertibles and station wagons, all that kind of stuff. It's funny because it does Kleenex means or Titanic. Edsel means failure.
So it was
It's been
more
for
like
years.
a make and less of a model, right?
It was. Well, I was doing research and they didn't create like Mercury's were at that time. Everything wasn't all. So Fords were made in Ford factories. Mercury's were made in Mercury factories. Lincolns were made in Lincoln factories, and they hadn't quite yet made an Edsel factory. So it also was being kind of blamed for looking like a bunch of other cars. So here's the car of the future, and it's built it's like an expensive Ford Fairlane, that kind of thing.
But not to go off topic, but was the Pacer a failure?
The AMC Pacer?
Yeah.
I think ultimately, yes. We should have talked about that next time.
Because it was kind of the inspiration of Wheels, right? Arthur Haley's Wheels. Which, if you haven't read, you should really read it. It's an amazing book.
I've been recommended that book before.
Yeah. Have you
about
read
Detroit.
Airport? Why are you not speaking?
I've just never read any of these. I guess I'm not an Arthur Haley fan.
Yeah, he just wrote this great, epic.
Is he Hotel?
Yes.
Okay,
They were
yeah.
always Hotel,
Yeah, yeah.
Wheels. Anyway.
So the Edsel was the wrong car at the wrong time. Live and learn.
Yeah. Manufactured by the Ford Motor Company, 1958 through 1960. Okay, let's carry on with our top 10 list of the
Failed products. of
failed
all
product
time.
launches.
Number 9.
I wanted to talk a little bit about a lot of McDonald's failures, a lot of fast food failures I was going through.
That counts.
There have been some really, really disgusting things over the years. I started with Burger King shakers. Do you remember that? And the Satis Fries. Do you remember the Satis Fries?
Satis Fries.
Yeah,
Were they a fast food chain?
No, the Satis Fries were a Burger King fries
that's
that were
right,
supposed
healthy
to
fries.
be healthy fries.
It was
And
just a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Really?
and they were just disgusting, and nobody liked them, and they were were no saturated fats and blah 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 everything like that. Anyway,
Kind of make me wanna
McDonald's
eat them now.
McDonald's had. Just go through and see if you remember any
There's
of these.
one I remember a lot. I was
Okay.
gonna
One
do
in
it.
particular, I have a very
Or do you remember
strong feeling
McDonald's pizza? McPizza?
What?
Yeah, McDonald's pizza all through the 70s and selected McDonald's, and they still have them overseas. McPizza, McSpaghetti. Do you remember that one?
Do you?
Yeah, there was a McSpaghetti again in the 1970s, but it lasted in certain McDonald's up until 2000. If you could just
I've
go
never
into
seen or heard of a McSpaghetti.
yeah,
You've actually eaten it.
I have when I was young. I remember that one of the next.
Maybe it carried on like overseas. You mean?
I think so. I think in Japan and Canada are the places
they have a whole
that have
different
these
menu in Asia.
McMozzarella sticks. Is something that was
Who knew that McDonald's was a paisano?
This was in 2016, the mozzarella sticks, and there was a class action suit against them because they alleged there was no cheese in the sticks, and so
I'm sure there wasn't.
No, it was something that there was some starchy cheese, fake cheese, and a lot of times you would get them and they'd just be hollow. It would just be so people. There was a class action
why
suit
would that
against
bother
them.
people? Because their French fries are coated in plastic or Teflon or some derivative.
Yeah. That's another thing. If you remember, both Burger King and McDonald's, the French fries before 2002,
yes, because of animal fat, right?
Yeah, the trans fats.
And then
they were. If we could go back in a time machine, they would be so much better. Very quickly, Fish McBites.
Oh.
That was for Catholics. Who could not eat, meat on
That's
Fridays.
the filet of fish.
Yeah.
But then they took that idea of the filet of fish and turned them into like McNuggets, basically.
Yeah, there was also a McHulu burger, which was fried.
I'm seeing some pineapple.
A fried pineapple with cheese and ketchup, and that was for Lent and for Friday.
Can I throw out one in my memory?
Yeah, sure.
The McDLT.
Yes!
Oh
Yeah.
my God, the McDLT came in this large styrofoam container. One
one
side
side
was
was
hot,
cold.
one side was cold.
And it was the premise that you wanted to have your lettuce and tomatoes
Crisp.
and cheese crisp and cold, and you wanted your burger warm.
Yeah.
But then it came large. It was like ordering two, and then you had to open it up and you had to put them together. And
It's
you
so
don't
hard.
really want to assemble your fast food because
What?
the less you know about what's inside, the better.
All
my
you have to do
opinion.
is put two things
Well,
together.
that was it. People were saying it was too difficult, and that's why they discontinued
We're
it.
such lazy fat Americans.
Well, it says something about the McDonald's customer that they can't put two things together. There was also the Arch Deluxe. I don't know if you remember in the year 2000, which was for discriminating taste. It was for an adult taste.
It was for
It was in
It was for-
'96.
It was
I think
from
it
96.
ended in 2000.
Oh, okay, it ended in 2000.
What made it? I saw an ad for we're doing this, but what
It's
made
two
it
patties.
taste adult?
two patties, right?
I didn't really. I'm not an adult. I don't care about it.
I think
the
it's kind of
potato
like how
bun.
Carl's Jr. does like the $6 burger. Like it's just a little bit better beef.
It was on a potato bun.
Oh, okay.
That much I do
Classy.
know.
Okay.
I know.
There was McStuffins, which were like Hot Pockets.
Hot Pockets.
There were
Always fun to
salad
say.
shakers, which you probably remember.
Yes.
That was another thing that like too much. You had too much.
You could put the dressing in and then shake it.
Yeah, but once again, you're making your customer work for you, and
it's
that's
fast food.
people
No,
can't.
back in
and
the
more
day-
single-use plastics.
With
Thanks.
potato chips, they used to come with little packets of salt, and you would have to pour in the salt and then shake the bag. That's how potato chips began, where you had to apply your own salt.
Too much work. Too much damn work. Very quickly, there were hot dogs in 1995. The chicken fajitas, which I used to love. I used to get those all the time in the 90s. They also had the McSoup, which it turned out to just be Campbell's soup that they poured into a McDonald's cup.
McSoup.
Yeah, McSoup. There were McLobster in Canada. It's still
sounds
there.
good. I'd have a McLobster.
Onion nuggets in the 70s, which is
Have they never done a McMac and cheese? Don't you just like saying that? McMac and cheese.
that works. That works.
If you're listening from McDonald's, you're welcome.
There was also a McJordan, which was pickle, cheese, bacon, and barbecue sauce.
Too much. Too many ingredients.
But recently, a gallon of it sold on eBay for the barbecue sauce for $10,000.
You say you're always low on cash, and yet you spent $10,000 on a bucket of
I did.
James.
But basically, there's a lot of real.
There's a lot of innovation in McDonald's. Not all of it works.
Yeah.
Out of all of those, which was their biggest fail?
It's got to be either the McDLT or the Arch Deluxe.
Because according to Blake, it's like $200 and $300 million it cost.
Well, one website said they lost 200, and one website said
On what?
300.
No, you know what
The Arch Deluxe on
Yeah. Well, advertising and marketing. The McDLT, I'm sorry, just for a second. It has who's the guy from Seinfeld? Jason Alexander.
Yeah, in fact, I have that right there. The McDLT, Jason
Maybe
Alexander
that's-
with hair
With
running
hair,
through the
singing
through the
and
street.
dancing, and you realize as joyous as the commercial is, it's like it's pushing a bad product. It's like, hey, it's hot on the one side and cold on the other. It's like even Jason Alexander can't really pull off that.
Remember in 2009, there was the Angus third pounder, and that was a huge. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah. That was a big flop for them.
All of these things sound. I wish there should be a McDonald's, a McFail,
yes.
all their
Or
discontinued
maybe
products.
every month there's a McFail of the month, and then they
very
bring it back.
Well, yeah. Well, I tell you, the whole nostalgia thing of these failures is they often bring the products back because people hated them at the time, but now love to hate them and love to love them. And
I don't know if you followed the Szechuan sauce thing that happened a couple months ago, where it was mentioned on Rick and Morty. He went back in time to get it, and there was a huge run on it when McDonald's brought it back, and they didn't anticipate that there would be riots and mobs, and
There you have it.
people love their nostalgia foods.
Well, number 8.
Number 8.
I'm going to do another car. Oh, my dad was. I'm not really a car person, but I want to have something that's stylish.
You've had pretty cool cars.
Yeah, I know,
you
but I'm not a
have.
car.
It's not something you dream about.
I just think of like what's stylish and different and unusual.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, this comes, I think, from my dad, who was an architect and had a certain flair. Like he'd wear these Maltese ties that were, kind of gay in some ways. But anyway, we'll just move on from that. Wow. And he bought at the end of the 60s, this thing called an NSU, which sounds like a sexually transmitted disease, but it gets worse.
Or birth control. My NSU.
It was the NSU Ro 80. What made this different as a car was that it had in it a Wankel engine.
What'd you call me?
A Wankel, you Wankel.
This is a British car.
German, funnily
German.
enough.
Der Wankel.
Where's the steering wheel?
The Wankel in the usual place, and it's round. It's like a...
Well, no, for the Brits, it's on the other side.
Oh, yeah, there you go. They make cars with wheels on both sides.
I don't know.
For different... Well, we dive on for sides.
Is this something that was available in America, too?
Yes, it was. It was. And it had this Wankel engine. Now, I can just about explain the Wankel engine, which is basically this. It was done by Felix Wankel, who created the patent in 1929 before the Second World War. And like in a regular internal combustion engine, you have pistons going up and down.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Got that?
Got it.
Okay. The concept shift was that imagine a circle, a chamber,
Right.
and then you put inside that a triangle, and the triangle is rotating. So between each edge of the triangle and the circle are 3 chambers,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
So instead of having a piston going up and down, you have this rotating circle.
You're talking.
It's rotating triangle inside a circle.
Yeah.
They squeeze it, they shoot in the gas. As the thing comes around, it gets compressed, it explodes, and then the exhaust shoots out. And it goes round and round and round. I know we need visual aids here, but
It sounds like a Wankel engine to me. Am I right?
and
It's very Winkle-esque, I'll tell you.
So, the Wankel engine...
Wait, is it something you could lift up the hood and watch it do this?
Of course not, because it needed to be sealed
Inside.
chambers
Oh,
like
right,
the
right,
pistons.
okay,
Because
okay,
the way internal combustion works is you inject some fuel, the piston compresses, the gas explodes, a little spark, and that pushes the piston down. Inject more fuel, up comes the piston.
Now, is this something you knew as a child when he got it, or did you just
I
learn
did,
last
because
night?
my father told me at length, endlessly about it. So I was
Okay.
very excited. And this car did look like a spaceship. It was incredibly futuristic, and it was a beautiful
What
car.
year? What era are we talking?
We're talking about 1969.
So this is the height of the 60s.
The height of the 60s. We're actually going into the 70s. It was
Can
very
we pull
70s
up a picture of it
car.
real quick?
Yeah, I'll pull up a picture. But the Wankel engine was the sort of unique selling point, and was for a moment everybody thought it was the future of the internal combustion engine. However, there was a problem because you've got this triangle in a circle, and you need a perfect seal. But you can imagine if it's things spinning round and round, the tips that make that perfect seal from the point of each
they
triangle,
get old and
they
round.
wear out. So suddenly you don't have sealed
perfect
combustion chambers.
Where's the weirdest place that car broke down?
Well, my dad was driving to Italy, and it broke down like in some twisted, narrow road. And they decided to take a nap while they waited for the AA to come, or whatever it was, the RCA or whatever it was. And they put their feet up, and the whole windscreen fell out. So there was some manufacturing problems. The other great thing about the R80 Wankel, I mean, it was just so good to go to school and pull up in this flash car. But the other problem about it was, well, it wasn't a problem actually, but the ignition. Okay, it's a German-made
part
I was
car.
going to say, this sounds like
with
it's going to be a problem.
No, it's all right. It's just that the German word for start is fart. So it above the ignition it said fart start, which I found hilarious.
Of course, they were punished.
So and my dad bought the car and it just continually failed. And sadly, actually, there were so many claims, warranty claims, that the company went bankrupt that same year.
And I'm not trying to trick you. Is this because I've heard of rotary engines? This
Yes,
is a type of rotary
It's a
engine.
type of rotary
And for people,
engine.
it's Ro,
Yeah.
80, the
Yes.
number 80, just in case people need to
Yeah.
Google it.
And
Because it looks a little
NSU
BMW, it looks a little Fiat. It's kind of stylish.
I mean, it's got that 70s look,
Yeah.
right? But in a sort of what the future looked like to the 70s. It was
Sure.
very stately. It was a very comfy.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's
mind it.
nice.
I don't mind it.
All right. So, time to take a quick break. Let's see. I've got lots of bits of paper here. Okay. Blake came up with this question. I have no idea what. Actually, I wonder. According to autoblog.com, no cheating, what is history's best-selling car of all time? We'll have the answer for you after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, and we're counting down the top 10 failed product launches of all time that make us go, wow. We'll be right back.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Hey, welcome back. We are here with Tom and James and Blake. That's 3 different people. And,
Are you
not
having a
Tom,
stroke?
Do you smell toast? Do you smell burnt toast?
Oh, yeah. So we were talking about cars, right? Tom talked about the Edsel. I was talking about the NSU Ro 80. And the question was, what is the best-selling car of all time, according to autoblog.com?
Well, I'm going to say it's got to be one of those like all-American, like Chevy, something like that, or it's like a Fiat or
That's a good point. It could be international. I'm sticking with American for no good reason.
I am
Well, I either think it's
or the
like
Ford
a Toyota Camry,
Yes.
okay.
I'm sure
or
it's that.
I'm thinking the Model T Ford.
Or what about
No.
the
Not that many people back then.
Yeah.
What about the Ford Fiesta?
Maybe.
But what is one of those Chevys? What's a Chevy?
Impala.
A Chevy Impala, or no, like a.
They keep changing the models is a problem.
Oh.
Well, the young people, they keep changing.
What about like a Ford Fairlane, a Ford?
Okay, Ford Fairlane.
I mean, Model T Ford is a really good idea because
there was only Model T
that was the
Fords for
only
like
car
20
you
years.
could buy. Yes.
But
Well-
there weren't as many people.
answer
Model
is-
T was number 9 on the list.
Thank you.
Number 1 is Corolla, the Toyota Corolla.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a
It's a
Toyota
little
Corolla.
cheaper than a Camry.
Yeah.
I
I
think.
totally had one. I had a Camry and a Corolla.
You are hot. Uh-huh. And I
Who else? What else? Was a Chevy in there or Fiat?
There
Ford
was
Fairlane?
you're now having him rely on his
no.
memory, and that's very unfair of you.
the Honda Accord was on there.
That makes sense.
Oh.
Everyone's had one of those.
All right. So let's carry on counting down the top 10 failed product launches of all time that made us go,
Wow.
We're at number, I can't count as usual, 7. Tom.
Number 7.
I have a failed product that made everyone go, wow, because it was called the Frito-Lay's Wow Chips.
I remember this.
I think it made everyone go poo. But
They, we were all lied to, in the 80s. No, we were all lied to and told that fat was bad for us. And that, when it really is salt and
It
sugar that's
sounds
bad for
bad.
us. So, going out, they've tried to find an alternative to oil, which makes chips very fattening. And so they came up with something scientific called Alestra. Is this ringing a bell?
Yes.
And the only problem with Alestra is I'll always, this is what comes to mind. Anal leakage.
Yes.
As soon as you hear anal leakage, it never leaves your mind. It never leaves the front of your brain. And you think, wow, chips cause
Anal
leakage.
And you're thinking, what do I want to have for dinner? Anal leakage. What do I want to have with my tuna sandwich? Anal leakage. And by the way, some days that's what I want, but a lot of times I don't. But no, it was officially when the FDA said that it caused, it's all written down here, unpleasant side effects included abdominal cramping, diarrhea, and yes, anal leakage. And they had to have the warning prominently on the package. This was like a big Tonight Show. Everyone made fun of this.
No, but because I remember running out and getting a bag just so I could taste
Leak
and
it, sure.
see the anal leakage. And I did have some anal leakage, but I don't know whether it was because of the wow or chips or because it was just something that was happening to me at the time. But did you guys ever try them?
I'm sure I did, and they sold for a long time. That's the great thing about a lot of failed products is somebody's always hey, let's try out some Olestra.
I think my mom was around my age at this time, so I remember her eating these, and I totally ate them too. But I don't remember. I was really young.
I don't think I had any anal leakage, but it was so much fun. Abdominal cramping, diarrhea. Diarrhea on the package. They called it fecal incontinence, which was really anal leakage.
That's the chic.
Fecal incontinence. It just doesn't stick.
Darling, I had a bit of fecal incontinence the other night.
But Haribo also made, if I remember rightly, gummy bears with Olestra.
I was going to say, are there other products with Olestra in it?
Really caused the world to fall out of your bottom.
Olestra also inhibits the
you had those?
Olestra inhibits the absorption of some vitamins and other nutrients. So it's really bad all around.
I mean, sounds a good idea in theory, the concept.
Take the oil out.
Except the falseness of all that, and what's come out recently is that it wasn't, fat's not the problem.
Yeah.
Fat doesn't make you fat. It's like an unhealthy, it's like it's overeating, and it's sugar and salt. And the way that a lot of these places, they took the fat out, so they added sugar and salt especially to make it tasty. And so now we all have high blood pressure and we're crazy. Okay, I'm crazy. But I think they still use Olestra in different amounts or different in Frito-Lay's light products like Tostitos Lights, Lay's Lights, Ruffles, and Doritos.
Have they solved the fecal incontinence problem then? Presumably it's not so
I don't have an answer to that, but it's clear they did something to like...
I think that they just caused that and they just had to say that it did. And now people are just over that.
There was another failed product at the time that could have used that they could have sold it in tangent with this, and it was Bic disposable underwear, which I was going to talk about. And, but people didn't like the idea of it sounded like there was something leaking out of your body or that you were incredibly filthy or dirty, and so the idea of Bic underwear never took off. Disposable underwear.
I think Bic underwear is available in Japan. I think if you go into a 7-Eleven, you can buy...
I think disposable underwear is a big deal.
To me, disposable underwear is kind of like Keurig, right? It's the perfect underwear every time. It's like Keurig, the coffee maker. Right? Like you just have to there's no saying these things couldn't come back.
It's probably biodegradable. No, exactly.
Yeah, instead of you carry your wipes, one carries one's wipes in and out of places. Why have wipes? Well, we're talking about people. We're talking about
the bathrooms here at World of Wonder that need a little refreshing, and talking about sometimes there's no loo roll when you go in, and so
is that toilet paper?
Wipes.
Loo roll.
Loo roll is toilet paper, translated, yes. And so I just shared, and apparently was not something one shares, but I take my wet wipes with me. And if I need to go here at the office, I
do you put them in your pocket?
Yes, I do. And I walk down the hall. And
sorry we brought any of this up.
So
things we learned.
Do you not use wet wipes?
No, you can't use wet wipes because they clog up the toilet and they
remember the big
the septic tank will explode.
Fat burger.
Yeah, the fat burger. Yeah.
Yes, but they do. They are biodegradable.
No, they are not. They clog.
They say it on the package, flushable or not.
Guys, for once in my segment, can I get the last 2 words in?
Okay.
For once,
wrap it up.
Anal leakage.
And we never quit leaking.
All right, James, what do you got for us at number 6?
Number 6.
This has been described as one of the most embarrassing and head-scratchingly awful food product releases of all time. It's Gerber.
I read about this. And
you know what this one is?
Yes.
Okay. It's called Gerber Singles, and it was
Gerber's the baby food maker.
Gerber's the baby food maker, and for years they had.
We all grew up on it.
Yeah, they were the leading seller of baby foods, and their message, their advertising that they used to sell it was "Babies are our business, our only business," which was a slap in the face to Heinz and Beechnut, who had ketchup and all sorts of other things, as well as the baby food. What happened though was that after the baby boom, people were having less and less babies, and so they started losing market shares, and they started losing to Heinz and Beechnut, and they freaked out, and they didn't know what to do, so they thought,
innovation. Someone at a conference table thought, I have it.
I got the perfect idea. We're gonna have baby food, but we'll market it to adults.
It was mushy food for single people.
It was for singles.
Why
It was,
would single people want to eat mushy food?
well, they
That's a
said that
strange
it was
connection.
actually marketed towards college students.
Right, and maybe single people just out of college.
People who are infantilizing themselves because it's their first time away from home and they're missing the comforts of home, and so they're sitting there sucking their thumb, missing, watching the cartoons they used to watch. You know how college students are. So this is the 60s. There was, I'm going to read a couple out. There came in flavors like creamed beef, beef burgundy, chicken Madeira, beef with mushroom gravy, Mediterranean vegetables, and blueberry delight, which was laughed off
They
shelves.
looked like they were like that big or
Yeah,
something.
and
Yeah, it must have
3
been bigger
inches,
than
4
a baby
inches, yeah.
portion, right?
But it's sort of like a chunky soup. It's just, again,
You've
I
eaten
think
them.
I
they
looked
were
at
strained.
them.
It was all liquid.
Right.
It was
But,
liquefied.
Gelatin.
what was the sirloins? The what was the kind of soup? I said?
It's chunky, but for
Yes,
you,
yeah,
but,
you're tempted to use a
fork,
fork, but use a spoon
spoons
for
to get
every
everybody.
drop. But I think this could catch on because I think people are more infantile. Like people wear onesies now.
it is for the ones.
And
that
now
are-
within
it's
20 years in a onesie.
it's for the raver crowd. I think they would. It's for people coming down off ecstasy
Yes.
who don't want to chew.
And you need disgusting flavors. You can't do this beef burgundy shit.
I have to tell you though, I mean, like you're so right about that because in the Tech Valley areas, Silicon, they drink Soylent, marketed without a shred of irony. It is a powdered food product that you mix with water, and these computer guys, Silicon Valley guys, just. That's what they eat.
Yeah.
They don't make real food. They just consume this sort
And
of
I'd put a little
Soylent.
fiber in and mix it in so there'd be no anal leakage.
But it's not. Some of them, are really gross. The meat ones are really disgusting, everything like
Disgusting.
that. But there are the blueberry ones. There was at the time they came up with a campaign urging adults to concoct instant desserts with Gerber's Baby's Foods, and they said that, did you know you could make a parfait in 60 seconds by combining vanilla ice cream and Gerber's strained chocolate custard pudding?
These were the more desperate meetings. After someone came up with it and sold them, then they're like, what do they do? We tell people to make parfaits with them. Yeah, that's the ticket.
Why didn't they market it to like older people?
Well, there you go too. I mean, you've got ravers, you've got drug addicts, you've got people who are infantilizing
People
themselves.
who get
You've
new
got-
teeth.
Yeah, people who who have just had some dental work and they,
Oh,
Not
that's a
always
legitimate
Not
need.
always the aspirational audience you go after immediately.
I still love
Toothless.
baby peaches.
Well, that's just
Baby
it.
peaches.
They say that every family, every parent has tried. It has to take a little bite to feed it to the kid. You've got to do
They
that,
should go
right?
full out and just be like make it infantile and make it
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, for adult babies. I mean, it's a whole market for plushies and furries and adult
Yes,
babies. I think
yes.
it's still
We're
viable.
gonna be rich.
Gerber singles began and ended in 1974.
A 1 year fail. That's pretty hot.
Well, I've got, yes. A little later in the show, there's an even shorter, quicker fail. But anyway, number 5.
Number 5.
It was marketed as the only drink with balls.
A
We're talking
drink
about
with
Orbitz
balls.
soda.
What was I sort of remember it.
Orbitz
Clear
is the gum,
bottle,
right?
Clear bottle
Yeah.
with different flavored soda. Although, funnily enough, even though it was soda, it wasn't carbonated. So I don't quite know.
So it was like Kool-Aid or something.
But
awful.
instead, suspended in this solution were these little candy balls, these little
Gummy.
day-glow colored balls. Actually, they were made out of gelatin. And the amazing kind of thing about it was that they were suspended in the drink. They never all sank to the bottom like in bobo tea. They're literally hanging there.
Even
And
if you shake it up.
even if you shake it up. And actually, even though this was a product introduced in 97, so that's what, 20 years later, they're
still floating somewhere.
They are. You can buy the bottles on eBay
Is
for
there,
about
is there
$30.
water? I mean, is there air in the balls? Is that what it is?
No,
Or
they're
how-
solid balls.
It says that they have the same density as the liquid on the outside, so that's
Right.
why they never sink.
And there's something, I think it's called
I
gallon
had like
gum.
every color in my room.
You do?
Because I did in 1990, probably until about
Well, then,
2000.
so you drank it once or twice?
No, I never drank it, but
Oh.
I just
It
bought
just
it.
looks pretty 'cause it
Well,
looks
yeah,
good
they
here.
looked like little lava lamps, and remember, lava lamps were really cool. And
Well, that's, yes, people said it was like drinking a lava lamp. I guess one reason why it didn't work. But also these balls were also helped to remain in suspension by garland gum, which is a microscopic, invisible spider's web. So you look at it, looks clear, but if you put it under a microscope, the whole thing is a spider's
The
web.
liquid is a spider's
The
web.
liquid is a spider's web.
Is that true?
Yes. No, I'm not. Wait, I'm not making this
But
up.
I mean,
So
it's
they
not
harvested spider web?
No,
no.
it's not a
It was
real
a
spider
gum.
web. It's just it's
this
something.
gum that had a property of.
See how easily confused I can
Oh,
be.
are you accusing me of fake news?
Well,
the gum would sort of spread out in a febrile
I
manner.
see.
And
febrile, yeah.
febrile. But I think probably it was the flavors, because one flavor was pineapple, banana, cherry, coconut. I mean, why would you?
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
In
right?
your
It's a little
research,
extra.
what was the texture? I wondered.
Well,
The mouthfeel must have been a little like.
You know, because I have a problem with tapioca. To me, that just
I'm not a
freaks
tapioca
me
fan.
the fuck out. You
not-
know,
it's not a bad flavor,
I don't
it's the
need
texture.
It's the eyeballs in the
Or the fish egg.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like. I'm not a. I mean, I can do caviar.
like that.
I'm close.
I can really
Shut
get
it
down.
down.
I'm like that with bananas. I hate the texture, but I love the flavor.
You love the shape.
But what is it you just call? What kind is the tea you were just talking about that has the booba balls?
Oh,
the
boba tea. Boba tea.
Boba. Yeah, no, I don't like that either. That just
Well, let's hear from some of the people who consumed it. Raspberry citrus. Someone said it tastes like water that came out of a vase used for flowers. And then for vanilla orange, someone said each gelatinous blob busting in my teeth like some twisted boil of sugary pus.
But vanilla and orange do go well together. We know that.
Oh, and the other thing was the marketing on the website. They said, prepare to embark on a tour into the bowels of the Orbitarium.
Oh.
I mean, that sounds a little like anal leakage, right? Like, why
Taking
would
my-
you?
Nobody
Well,
wants to
you
drink
do-
anything that says bowels.
Bowels.
on
It's like
it.
then you think of them as like rabbit pooplets floating in your water.
Yeah, especially little diarrhea with bits in it. It's like, why would you want that?
None of that.
Orbitz did survive, by the way. The travel company bought the website. It's spelled the same way.
Wait, I thought
Website.
Orbitz. Wait, but isn't Orbitz?
There is also Orbitz gum.
There's Orbitz gum
But not
and
with a
Orbitz
Z.
travel.
Different.
I think.
Is it?
I think so.
I think Orbitz is with an S is the travel, and Orbitz with a Z is the gum.
Okay.
And surprisingly, they actually did relaunch them in 2015. I don't know if it's still around, but there was a limited relaunch in
Yeah.
2015 for the nostalgia of it all. Okay, we have to take a quick break. Hey, how about, do you want to try this? Which do you think of these failed sodas command the most prices on eBay? The biggest price? Surge, Volt, Crystal Pepsi, Hubba Bubba Soda,
Oh, Hubba Bubba Soba. Wow.
Sounds delish.
Uh-huh.
Tropical Chill Pepsi, Strawberry Burst Pepsi. Yeah, which do you think?
Well,
We're going to figure that out as we.
Yeah, we're going to work on it over the break,
Okay.
and then we'll be right back.
but I want to throw in a few others right there because
yes,
there were
do.
some other. There was AM Pepsi that I don't know if you remember. That was it was more of a caffeine jolt for the morning,
That's
but
a good
people didn't
idea.
really want more Pepsi in the morning. There's Pepsi Blue. Do you remember Pepsi Blue?
Yes, what was Pepsi Blue?
Well, it was Blue Pepsi.
Oh, okay.
There's Coca-Cola Black,
What was
yes,
it?
that
Yeah.
was coffee and
coffee
Coke.
and Coke, which is
Actually, no, I tell you what I really like is a cold Coke and a really hot coffee. It's like the liquid McDLT. And
Okay.
but you don't put them together, you take a sip from each, alternating.
There was also Vio, which was milk and Coke,
Yes,
which is exactly
that was a disaster.
So
Okay.
anyway, I just wanted to throw those out and to add to yours.
And
I'm
is
sorry.
Fruitopia still around? Remember Fruitopia?
Yeah.
Non-carbonated soda from Coca-Cola set in psychedelic flavors.
Well,
There was
it
also
like
Lifesaver soda, which was for a long time in the 70s.
Clearly Canadian. Remember,
Yes,
was the one who made Orbitz.
That's right. Absolutely right. Well, okay, we'll be right back after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Hey, people, welcome back to the Wow Report. We're counting down the top 10 product fails that make us go,
Wow. Why did you do that?
And so before the break, the question was, we were just talking about Orbitz, which you can still buy unopened bottles of on eBay. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily drink them, but what do you think of all these other failed sodas commands the most money
Yeah,
on
what were they
eBay?
again?
Surge, which is a sort of surge
Like
thing.
an energy drink
Thank
type
you,
thing,
yes. Volt,
yeah. Another energy drink?
right? Hubba Bubba,
Well, that just
Flavored
sounds
soda.
delicious, yeah.
Orbitz, of course. Here's one, OK Soda.
Oh,
Which
I
was
loved
Coke's
OK
attempt
Soda.
to grab the slacker generation because it
And
tastes okay.
It had a number that you used to call 1-800-I-FEEL-OK. Me and all my friends called it all the time.
That's why we have our millennial producer.
See, that's yeah. So
I'm gonna say Volt because that one has the most nostalgia. Yeah.
Volt.
Surge.
Oh my God, you're all right. Surge and Volt, like $250 a bottle. Ding, 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 ding,
Okay.
ding.
Yeah, there is nostalgia for it.
Onwards then, Tom.
Number 4.
I want to talk about a product that comes out of Colgate Palmolive, but since I have so little to say about it, I'm going to give you the history of Colgate and Palmolive. Did you know that in 1806, a devout Baptist English immigrant who happened to be a soap and candle maker named William Colgate established a starch, soap, and candle factory on Dutch Street in New York City? Did you know him? Were you around then, James?
We used to ride the trolley cars with Lillian Gish and Mr. Colgate.
In 1806. His son, Samuel Colgate, also like a devout Baptist, did not want to continue the business, but thought it'd be the right thing to do. In 1872, he introduced Cashmere Bouquet, a perfume smoke. A perfume soap. I said smoke because I'm having a stroke. And then in 1873, the firm introduced the first Colgate toothpaste, an aromatic toothpaste sold in jars. I think toothpaste existed, but they commodified it and they came up with Colgate.
Yeah.
Well, we know how
Wasn't it a powder in the early days?
This was aromatic toothpaste sold in jars.
Okay.
So now James Colgate, who's the other son, founded Colgate University. Colgates are a big deal, right? Colgate Palmolive is the company. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, B.J. Johnson Company was making a soap made entirely of palm oil and olive oil, the formula of which was developed by B.J. Johnson in 1898. The soap was popular enough to be renamed the company after it, Palmolive. Around the start of the 20th century, Palmolive, which contains both palm and olive oils, was the world's best-selling soap.
Now, I didn't know that Palmolive had palms and olives in it. I don't think it probably does anymore.
Well, who cares anymore? In 1928, Palmolive bought the Colgate Company, and they created Colgate Palmolive. Colgate Palmolive went on to be a big sponsor of TV shows. Their rivals, Procter & Gamble. I mean, so many of our products of cleanliness and soap and cleaning have been from Colgate Palmolive.
You're soaking in it.
Exactly.
And you say Colgate and you just think mintiness.
Yes. So why not, in 1982, wouldn't Colgate come out with a line of frozen dinners?
Yes, I do.
Colgate frozen dinners with the big red Colgate with the big white flavor, like lasagna and Swedish meatballs.
Because you're thinking minty lasagna.
Yeah,
you're thinking
yes,
like, yeah.
I'm sure that the dinners were delicious, but it's so weird to take the Colgate brand.
Better
Yes.
to call it palm olive dinners.
Well, that's it's like there was
soaking in olive oil.
I mean, that's a whole genre of itself of failed products because the juxtaposition.
The
was
wrong
wrong. There's like
association.
Cheetos lip balm, but you just you don't want.
You would think like Colgate dinners, like you think they would start their own division and call it something else
Yes,
and sell it.
Hungry
But Colgate, and I
something.
guess what was the thinking? I don't know. It's not that you eat your dinner and then you use your Colgate to brush your teeth.
Yeah, it could be like oral nutrition.
But with that notion, why wouldn't Charmin have its own line of frozen dinners? Because you eat it and then you poo it out, and
Anal leakage.
You can pay me
Still
now, you can
comes
pay me
back.
later. Anal leakage. Yes, I landed. Boom, boom. Another anal leakage mention here as I count down the top 10 product fails and make us go, why?
Why? There was also in the 70s there was cereal, milk, and like a spoon or something, or like toppings or something like that they thought they would sell it all together as one
kids.
thing.
Breakfast Mates?
What? Maybe it was Breakfast Mates.
I think that was like in the 90s.
That seems like a good idea.
But once again,
kids.
it's like the idea of actually combining milk and cereal isn't that strenuous. So it's like you really aren't taking away anything by combining it
And
together.
shouldn't it be like cold, the milk? Ugh.
Maybe it was sold in the refrigerator section of
But
the
I thought
grocery
the
store.
fail in that product was that it was for kids, right? The
Yeah.
idea. And the kids couldn't get the packaging open. So it was like wrapped
yeah.
problematically.
So that's my offering here.
I
on
love
the
it. I love
countdown.
it. Can I just share something about anal leakage, which is not going to leave my mind for a long time?
That's why we're here.
do.
That's why I'm here
We
this
once
week.
did a story in a morgue with Laurie Pike, and we met the lady in the basement who does the embalming, and she had this sort of wand that sucks all the juices out. But my favorite moment was that she's standing in front of an embalming table, nothing on the embalming table, and she's like doing a sort of walkthrough as if there was a body there. And then she says, and then we put a cork in the bottom to prevent anal leakage.
Yeah.
So
what's a big thing?
That's what you need for the Elestra.
Well, that's the reason why I don't want to die. That's that because
just for the anal leakage.
No, the bowels are evacuating. Like if I died right now, I would just evacuate all over the floor, and it would be very embarrassing.
Be around. Who cares?
My ghost will be embarrassed, too embarrassed to come back and haunt
Are
you.
we supposed to believe you're not wearing adult diapers right now?
Or
Because I know I am.
you don't have a cork in your butt.
I do have a cork in my
Just
butt.
in case. Nothing sexual.
Yeah.
All right. So
This topic is taking us to weird places.
No, at least we're not talking about cannibals. The release of Colgate kitchen entrees in 1982 even caused Colgate toothpaste sales to decline.
Oh.
James, what do you got for us at number 3?
Number 3.
Betamax. I'm sure you have some Betamax memories. I know I do.
It was VHS or Betamax at one point, right? That was
No.
Oh.
In the very beginning,
Good.
It started in 1971, the VCR Wars. In Japan, there was something called the Umatic, which was the very first opening salvo of the VHS Wars.
Okay.
VCR Wars, actually. Then in 1975, the first Betamax was released in Japan in May of 1975.
So they were first.
Yeah, Betamax was first, and then in USA of November of that year, it came out. It came out in America. It wasn't until VCRs came out, I think the next year. VCRs,
Yep,
right? Or
yep.
VHS. The VHS. It was VHS versus Betamax.
VCR was the
tape.
video
You'd
cassette
play
recorder.
a
So
VCR.
you can have a Betamax VCR or a VHS VCR.
Right. And the thing is that in the very beginning, there was only like an hour worth of, it would only tape an hour's worth of shows.
Right.
You had to take it out and switch tapes, remember, over and over again. The Betamax, I remember my father had one. It was about the size of this table. It was a little bit longer.
They were all pretty big.
They were huge. And it was like a home stereo system. It was just, very impossible to figure out how to work and everything like that. I remember there was you'd go to the store and there were 5 videotapes that you could rent. I remember it was Mother Jugs and Speed. It was Death Wish. It was King Kong for a while. Literally.
Those are 3 of the best movies I've ever heard.
There was Plaza Suite. I was just sort of
Classy.
Yeah. But
Simon.
you did not have a selection in the very beginning, and I remember even in the early '80s, there was not stores that you would go to, and I remember to buy one, they were like $100
Yeah, it was a big deal.
to buy a movie.
You were an early adopter for sure.
Yeah, I remember we bought Jaws, and it was it had to be a Christmas present because it was like $120 or something like that. Anyway, the VHS was sleeker, and it was
Longer tape.
They had longer tape, and they also, even though the Beta had a higher picture resolution, it had superior sound and a more stable image. It was the price difference was so different that VHS won.
I also heard, and maybe this is just an urban myth, that Sony created the Betamax, right?
Yeah.
They would not license the format for pornography, and they wouldn't, and that was what killed it, because everyone was using
Wait, you mean
VHS.
the Betamax? The Betamax wouldn't license it.
Correct.
Oh, because VHS did license themselves.
They were wars.
Yeah,
they didn't care what you used.
to other people, to other manufacturers. So people started.
Well, they let people put porn movies on VHS, and Sony said no, you can't put them on Betamax.
I believe that. I believe that. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I heard that Betamax caused anal leakage. Just trying to work it into conversation.
The wars had all been won by 1984, I believe, something like that, where it was obvious who was winning.
I think that's the first time I ever had access to a video machine was 84.
I think when I moved to college, I got one in 85.
And it was
like
VHS, and it was a top loader.
Yeah.
That was our first. And my dad had a camera that attached to it, like a video recorder.
Oh, yeah.
And you had to wear the VCR, carry it around with you.
Well, in 1982, I made my first film on Betamax. And it was an adaptation of T.S. Eliot's Sweeney Agonistes. Somewhat pretentious, but it was the way to get.
I would love to see it.
I know, I wouldn't mind seeing it too, but unfortunately, I can't find a Betamax player.
Well, but you can. There is. I mean, you have to spend like $500, $600.
You can buy Volt Cola on eBay, but you can't find yourself one Betamax.
Well, I promise
true.
I'll find it and take it. It's got Hugh Williams, who's in the Harry Potter movies. He's not Dumbledore. Who's the kids? The kids. You know, the red-headed twins. The
Weasley, Ron Weasley.
Yes, the Weasley. He's the father of. He's the Weasley father, Hugh Williams. Yeah. So
you were hobnobbing with acting
A
royalty.
little did we know, you know. But it's every bit as pretentious as you might imagine.
From
anyway,
T.S. Eliot to T.S. Madison.
To anal leakage.
Anyway, as I said, that the wars were over by 1984, but it didn't cease production until 2002, long after it had become obsolete. They just hung around.
Yeah, because it apparently wasn't discontinued until March of 2016.
Oh.
Ultimately, I guess it just sort of puttered along.
Huh.
No.
I wonder why I said cease production in 2002.
Well, yes, but it could still be.
This is fascinating.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay,
I'm sorry. No, right. Okay, so number 2, because it's only going to get worse. Number 2.
Number 2.
Google glasses. I thought this would be such an interesting story to tell.
It's a good one. It's not that far long ago.
It is such a boring story because you suddenly realize that Google is so completely secret. There's really no information there's just no hilarious story
When
about
did they
it.
get released? Not that long ago.
Okay. They discontinued it as a product in 2015. I think they first came out in 2012.
13, I thought.
2013. And the consumer launch never really took off. And so they discontinued it as a consumer product in 2015. And this is what sort of ruins the story. They're still around, Google glasses, and they're actually made for industry. And doctors use them a lot. You go to see the doctor, he's got on his Google glasses, and rather than him having to take notes, as you're telling him, he videos it, sends it remotely to a note taker in another room who writes up the notes and puts in pictures. That's kind of a good idea, right?
Well, but I imagine he's chopping up bones and he's got his fingers in your guts,
he can do
and
that.
he's doing other things. You know, to me it seems like it's a great product that really should still be around because there's a lot of uses for it.
Well,
and I don't understand why we are not going further with it.
I think it's coming back, and I think in the course of the evolution of it, you know, we saw those prototypes, and they called people glass holes with them. You know, people were very open in terms of giving them to early adopters and celebrities, and but they also changed it. Like they created a headset was just the headset piece, not the glasses piece. I mean, they really improved, and they also introduced a bone conducting headphone.
Well, I was going to say
send vibes.
I remember that
to your
the
skull.
the bone thing.
Phone.
Yeah. But to me, it seems like the next step is to get it into a contact lens.
Yes.
Where you know
Who says they haven't done that already?
Or is this that whole thing where like I just lost my train of thoughts.
Well, it'll come back to you. It was lovely to read that when they were launching the first time, they were going to be in 5 color options: shale, tangerine, charcoal, cotton, and sky. I don't think
Let's start with shale. Shale should be kept for the last one. QVC, it's always like red, white, blue, and cranberry. You know, they always say one thing.
Okay, let me
shale.
do it again.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Cotton, sky, tangerine, charcoal, and shale.
My favorite, shale. It goes with everything. It's a new neutral, shale.
But cotton is white. I mean, like,
So you're not supposed to make up. I've learned anything from home shopping. It's like simple names and then one fancy name. If you do all of them, then you're just like lost.
Yeah.
Like tweed and.
But I do think the idea of, you know, because we're still waiting for when we can bring down the computer screens in the air and
Like
stuff.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's coming, and that's all part of this technology right here.
But failures failure leads to success. There's something that didn't work about that on a consumer level anyway, so it'll come back.
Well, it's like another failed product of Virtual Boy by Game Boy. Remember, everyone had virtual. That was a big thing back in the early 90s, but nothing really came of it until
now, 20 years
now-ish.
later, everyone is a virtual reality, fanatic.
You know, one of the reasons I think it failed with consumers was that people didn't like the idea of being recorded without knowing it. And so they added a red record light.
Who said Omarosa?
Yeah, that's off the table now. That's all good. We're all good with being recorded now.
Yes,
We expect
exactly.
it.
Maybe
We
it was
want
too
it. I
early.
know.
Yeah.
Please record
They
more.
could have a big mic like this attached to it, so you know.
And also, the way you would, you could just say, take a photo. Google Glass, take a photo. And, hands-free.
You can
Imagine
the
the
porn.
possibility.
Yeah.
Yes, porn is the killer application.
Porn brings everything together.
Okay, a few more episodes this season for $1 Million Listing New York. Watch Ryan Sahant, Frederick Eklund, and Steve Gold every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Bravo. Hey, we'll take a break. When we come back, the number one product fail of all.
What could it be?
I know, we kind of know what it could be,
Yeah.
right? No resistor of the week this week, though. So I don't know why you would stay tuned, but we'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, is anybody still there? We're back. We're back to reveal. We've been counting down the top. I know, I'm awful. It's okay. You always reduce me to fits of hysterical giggles. We're going to reveal the number one product fail of all time. What is it, guys?
Number one.
It's not old.
It's new.
It's not Pepsi.
It's Coke.
New Coke.
I was thinking it might be Crystal Pepsi too. That's a big fail, right?
I don't think it was, and they definitely brought it back.
I'm so, what? Am I ruining it again? Have I ruined it again? Okay. Oh my God, New Coke, totally New Coke is the worst product of all time.
Okay, April 23rd, 1985. They launched New Coke after something like 4 years of market research. And here was what was happening. They were tracking the sales of Pepsi and Coke. Pepsi was the blue line and Coke was the red line. And Pepsi's line was going up and Coke's line was going down. And I think they realized that if they didn't do something in 1990, Pepsi would surpass Coke.
But would that really have happened though?
Well, they did. This is a brilliant part. They did blind taste tests. They did something like 200,000 blind taste tests. And the results were always the same. Yes, New Coke
And
Pepsi.
okay.
And everyone preferred the taste of Coke, New Coke. And on this very flawed premise, they thought they should change, after 99 years, the recipe for
Right.
Coke.
And they got rid of it. They didn't add New Coke. They
Yes.
got
They
rid of
rid of
Coke.
it, yeah.
They replaced it,
Yes.
which is radical when you think about it.
Radical. And I love market research. Great, do market research.
Well-
but I don't. I think it's foolish. But
Let's be honest.
yeah, but a blind taste test, when you suddenly do away with Coke, which is iconic.
So they weren't even- they
Americana.
were
And
not-
flavors so attached to our brains.
Yes, it's like, what the fuck made them think that
but tell them the flaw.
The flaw?
I thought the flaw was that in the sip there was more sugar in New Coke.
Yes.
And so in a sip it was like,
Oh, but if you're drinking
this
the
is
whole
fantastic.
can. Yes, that's
But when you
right.
drank the whole bottle, you're like, there's too much sugar in this
Yes.
thing because that's such a taste
that's
test
another flaw.
versus
It's not
the
drinking a whole
Yes,
can.
why don't you send a bunch home with people?
Right.
But I wonder also if where you're doing the taste test matters too, because Pepsi is more popular in the South, where it's because it's got more.
Right.
It's.
But I love the idea that there was the sip. It's sort of like give someone a jolt or a bolt or whatever of sugar. It's like, I like it. But it's like you stick with it. They don't like it. Now you realize, because life has changed because there used to be one Coke and one Pepsi. And then there's all these proliferation of
Have you been
kinds
in
of
the-
Cokes.
Yes. Have you seen all the different flavors in stores now?
Yes.
They have different flavored Cokes.
I don't understand the green one, like Coke Zero and then
Is that
Coke Life or
But
something.
Coke
Mint.
Life has stevia in it.
Oh.
So it's meant to be. It might actually be a blend, but it definitely is sweetened by stevia, which is going after that, that healthy soda line.
Right.
But so now they just proliferate. They just make everything. Now the shelf is just lousy with different kinds of Coke products.
Right.
But
And
the
the green
conspiracy.
Coke is real sugar, right? Is that what it is?
No, I think that's just what they call Mexican Coke, which
Yeah.
is HO, because it's sugar cane
Mexican Coke, that's
versus HO Mexico versus corn syrup is what they use in American Coca-Cola, which is awful. It kills
It
you.
is. It's horrible.
That's why everyone prefers the Mexican Coca-Cola.
Yes,
Plus,
we do.
I think the bottle shape and the thickness of the glass, it just does a number on you.
Yeah, it's a whole experience.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
people were saying though that it was a conspiracy theorists that say that they did it on purpose so
Well,
that they could bring it back, and then it would be they would go.
That was a very clever person at the conference meeting 2 weeks after the launch of the
like,
Coke.
how can we save this?
I know what we can say.
Yes, I mean, the CEO said, we set out to change the dynamics of sugar colas in the United States, and we did exactly that. He
Yeah,
also
that's how
said
you keep your job.
it sent an incredibly powerful signal, a signal that we really were ready to do whatever was necessary to build value for the owners of our business. And he advocated always taking intelligent risks as opposed to incredibly stupid blunders, which I think this was.
I think much like the Wow potato chip Alestra anal leakage crisis, this was quite a shit show.
And on that note,
And on that note,
I was just trying to work anal leakage in.
let me tell you about this.
What?
10% off RuPaul's DragCon.
Now, DragCon, it would be, if it were a product, it would be considered a success. Is that correct?
Oh, I think
Huge
so.
success.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And it's happening in New York.
And 28th, 29th, 30th
September.
of September. And if you use the promo code RadioAndy, that's all one word, when you buy your tickets at RuPaulsDragCon.com, you'll get 10% off.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
That makes me go, wow.
And if you see any of us at DragCon, we'll introduce you to Blake for free.
I don't get to go to New York.
Come anyway. We'll FaceTime with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Fenton.
You're very welcome. Thank you, James.
thank you, Fenton.
And thank you, Blake.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
You can listen anytime on the
Thank you,
Sirius
James.
Radio app. You can watch us on the Wow Report/net.
YouTube.
No, it's not. It's a Wow. It's what is it?
It's worldofwonder.net/RadioAndy.
Thank you. And so same time, same place next week, right?
Yes.
Well, maybe I'll be fired.
No, you're here forever.
I see. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go.
Wow. Anal leakage.